Good afternoon, everyone. As always, it's great to have all of you here. I see some new participants as well as some familiar names. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I am Det Arwego, Managing Director of Assessment Analytics, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session entitled AI in Human Resources, Practical and Ethical Use of Gen AI for HR Professionals. Okay, so while we're waiting for everyone to turn on their photos, I just want to let you know that this session is actually part of our series of 20 complimentary webinars to celebrate our 20th year here in AAI. In fact, this is already our sixth webinar for the year, and we hope to see many of you again in our upcoming sessions as well. You may also want to block off your calendars for May 28th, same time at 3 p.m. for our next webinar on sustainable succession. Please note also that today's session is being recorded and may be shared on our social media channels. So that would be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Ray will also be posting the links in the chat, so feel free to follow us there. And once again, welcome to today's session. Over the years, the world of work has continued to evolve. And today, we find ourselves at the forefront of another major transformation brought about by artificial intelligence. As HR professionals, we are challenged not only to understand these emerging technologies, but also to use them responsibly, ethically, and strategically in the workplace. Through today's webinar, we hope to provide practical insights on how generative AI can support everyday HR work while helping us remain thoughtful, ethical, and people centered in how we use these tools. We are grateful to have all of you with us as we continue learning together and navigating the future of HR. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Shamaine Tripolka. Shamaine is currently the head of operations at Techtify Inc., an educational technology and generative AI consulting startup, where she leads administrative operations, growth, and partnerships in the Philippine market. Prior to this role, she served as the company's people and culture manager, where she helped build the organization's HR foundations. So that would be from business establishment and government registrations to recruitment, onboarding, and HR policy development. She also brings with her 13 years of HR experience. And on a personal note, I'm really happy to introduce her today because this includes 11 years with us here at Assessment Analytics, where she contributed to various HR consulting engagements across both private and public sectors. Shamaine is also SHL certified in competency design and job analysis and competency based interviewing and is an SHL trained assessor. What makes today's session particularly valuable is that she approaches AI not merely from a technical perspective, but from the lens of an HR practitioner who has been actively using generative AI in real HR work over the past 2 years. Her experience offers practical, grounded, and ethical insights on what truly works in the workplace. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Miss Shamaine Tripolka.
Thank you so much, Miss Dad, for that wonderful introduction. I am so excited to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be one of the speakers for AAI's 20 complimentary webinars in celebration of their 20th anniversary. Again, my name is Shamaine Tripolka. I'm the head of operations for Techtify Philippines, a Gen AI company specializing in EdTech and Gen AI consulting. I've been in HR for 13 years, as Ms. Dev has mentioned, with experience in HR consulting, competency assessment, and talent development. So today, I'll share with you the practical and ethical use of Gen AI for HR professionals. I am HR by heart at first, so I will lead this session not as an HR expert, but as an HR professional who utilizes AI. Let me just share with you my screen. All right, so before we begin, let's just do a quick survey. So I want everyone to type in the chat one word that best describes how you feel about AI in your role. So your feelings about AI in HR. Are you excited? Are you worried? So let us see. Unfortunately, I can't see the chat. Here, I see the chat here. Let me see if there are any helpful. Oh, that's great. Convenient. Amazed. Curious and excited. Complicated. Yes. Opportunistic. Awesome. So there are a lot of feelings here. We have mixed feelings here. So those are all valid feelings towards artificial intelligence. And today we're going to learn and have a deeper understanding about what AI is and how it can help us. So I'm seeing a lot of helpful and convenient feelings here. Just close my chat. All right. So first, let's define what is Gen AI. So generative AI or Gen AI is an artificial intelligence that produces new content from a plain description. So you describe what you want, it generates a draft. So words, employee announcements, interview questions, policies, even a working code. So tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Google Gemini are all generative AI. It's useful, it's fast, and always in need of human judgment to finish the work. So from the word itself, ito ang keyword natin, generative. Because Gen AI, unlike traditional AI, generates output from prompts its user gives. So let's differentiate traditional AI from generative AI. So some of us may not know that there is traditional and generative AI, no? But let's see, let's differentiate them. So traditional AI, it predicts, classifies, or decides. It's trained for one job. For example, sorting spam, recommending a movie, or screening a resume. It gives you a label or a score. So you put the same input and you get the same output every time. So it's predictable. One trick. Generative AI, however, creates. So it's trained on broad data and produces new content like words, images, audio, even code from a description you give it. So same input can produce different outputs each time. So think of it this way. Traditional AI answers a question, but generative AI gives you a draft to work from. So Gen AI from the word itself, generative. It generates something new based on what you give it. So let's do a simple exercise. So I want you to type in the chat the letter T if it's traditional, you think it's traditional AI, and letter G if it's generative AI. Or just simply give me a heart react or a like react. So heart for traditional and then like for Gen AI. Okay? So Fitbits and Apple Watches. What do you think? Is it traditional? Is it generative? I don't see pala the reaction. T, I see in the chat, it's T, traditional. Okay, let's see. So it is traditional, yeah, Fitbits and Apple Watch, kasi it gives you a consistent set of information. Kagaya ng step counts, GPS, notifications, heart rate analysis. Yun yung binibigay niya. So, one trick all throughout. So, it's traditional AI. Next, Netflix and Spotify recommendations. Yung lumalabas kapag ka, because you watch this, ito yung marirecommend ko sa'yo. Traditional or generative? You have G, T, mix, generative, traditional. Okay, let's see. It's traditional AI kasi there's matching to what you previously selected. So, mina-match niya lang kung ano yun yung pinanood mo from the dataset of available suggestions. Hindi siya gumagawa ng bagong movie based dun sa pinanood mo. Meron na siyang preset ng mga movies na isa-suggest for you. So, it's one trick. Again, one trick lang siya. Hindi siya nag-generate ng bagong content. So, it's traditional. Yeah. And then, how about ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini? Of course, we've all known this. G, I see a lot of G. So text generation, summarizing, drafting, these generate drafts or outputs based on a prompt. Unlike traditional AI, it does not only pull up available data, but it curates it to fit the task that you give it. So it is generative AI. Next, Siri, Alexa, 2024 version. Siri, Alexa, generative, traditional. We have a mix. TNG. Okay, let's see. Actually, si Siri and Alexa, nung versions niya, 2024 and below, is traditional AI. Ngayon kasi nag-evolve na siya eh. But older versions of Siri and Alexa, dahil may intent matching, kagaya ng set a timer, play a song, it does a specific command, sila si Siri and Alexa. It does not create for you an output. Like for example, write me a song or create for me music. Hindi siya nag-generate. Again, generate ang ating words. So it's traditional AI. And then lastly, see Microsoft Copilot. Okay. Traditional or generative? Easy one, right? Generative, of course, because it drops your email, summarize team meetings, build your slides, create and generate outputs for you. So it's generative AI. So now that we know what Gen AI is, and let's dive in deeper. Kasi reviewing AI's generated output is one thing, but as HR professionals, our first concern should come even earlier than the output. It should come at the point of input, diba? Yung mga prompts natin. Gen AI works best if you feed it more information. It's called machine learning. So yan, take note of that. It's machine learning, making AI learn from a data set. So every time we upload a reference file or type in a prompt, halimbawa resume, policy, exit interview, client record, we have to ask ourselves, are we using this tool ethically? Are we protecting sensitive information in our company's intellectual property? So the real question for us today is, how do we use AI ethically and securely? That's what we'll discuss in this next topic. So let's discuss the ethical use of generative AI and the Philippine data privacy. So I'm sure you're familiar with RA 10173, no? Yung Data Privacy Act of 2012. We've been using that na before. I'm sure makita nyo kapag nagko-collect kayo ng survey, lagi kayong may disclaimer sa baba na nakalagay, your data will be processed in accordance to the Data Privacy Act. Diba? Yun. So, in the Philippines, it's the core data protection law. It applies to anyone who processes personal information, kasama na yung mga private companies, government, and even our HR department. Sinasatin yung mga 201 files, employee data. The National Privacy Commission or yung MPC enforces RA 10173 and has begun issuing directions on AI use. Of course, I'm not going to recite the whole RA to you. We'll just break down the HR relevant essentials. So according to RA 10173, there are two categories of data you must distinguish before they are treated because they're treated differently under the law. So meron tayong personal information or PI, anything from which a person can be reasonably identified, kagaya ng pangalan, employee ID, address, contact details, etc. And then we have the sensitive personal information or SPI, a protective subset that requires stricter handling kagaya ng race, ethnicity, marital status, age, religion, political views, kasama yan dyan, health, education, genetic, legal proceedings, etc. And then government-issued IDs as well. SPI yung mga bagay na yan. Most of the files or information na finifeed natin kay AI might create a compliance exposure for your organization. So halimbawa, candidates' resumes contains both PI and SPI. So pag pinost mo into a public Gen AI tool yung resume na yon, it counts as disclosing personal data to a third party. Unless the tool's terms makes clear that the data will not be used to train its models and will not be retained beyond the session, you've created a compliance exposure. So kagaya ng mga performance reviews, disciplinary records, HR investigations, meron siyang SPI by its own nature. So paano ba natin maiiwasan yon? Paano ba natin maproprotektahan yung kasi day in, day out, ito yung mga hawak ng HR personnel, di ba? Ito yung mga trabaho talaga natin, mga personal information. So here are three core principles that govern every HR data move or data collection according to RA 10173. The first is transparency. Data subjects should know how their information is being used. And then the legitimate purpose. There must be a defensible business reason bakit mo kinukuha yung data na yun. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na kailangan ko yung data kasi useful siya for HR. Kulang yun. Dapat may official na paggagamitan ng data and then nakasaad yun dun sa disclosure. And then proportionality. Use only the data you actually need for the purpose. So collect nyo lang kung ano yung kailangan nyo. For example, nag-release kayo ng training evaluation or feedback form sa training. Kailangan mo pa ba yung ethnicity nila? Kailangan mo pa ba yung range ng salary nila? Diba? Dapat may proportionality yung paghingi mo ng data. So here is the MPC's emerging direction on Gen AI. Emerging yung nilagay ko kasi actually emerging pa siya. It keeps on updating. Ina-update siya ni MPC regularly, every 6 months, I think, because Gen AI evolves in a fast pace. So here are the 7 things that HR must internalize. First is accountability. Hindi siya delegable. So the MPC has repeatedly clarified using AI to process personal data does not shift liability to the AI vendor. Your DPO or data privacy officer and your organization remains answerable. The MPC also has directions for cross-border transfer, meaning yung pasting Filipino employees' data into a US-based AI tool is cross-border transfer. PH law continues to apply and your organization remains liable for what happens to that data, even offshore. Yung mga penalties nito or fines range from 500,000 pesos to 5 million, plus possible imprisonment for serious violations like unauthorized processing, malicious disclosure, and negligent acts. So later on, discuss natin kung paano natin maiiwasan to. So privacy impact assessment dapat may PIA. It's expected before deploying any AI tool that processes personal data, especially for recruitment, performance, or workforce analytics. And then transparency to data subjects when AI plays a role in the decisions affecting them. Kagaya ng hiring, kuwari gumamit kayo ng AI assistants sa hiring, promotion, discipline, performance ratings. The expectation is it will be disclosed to the data subject. Then automated decision making with significant impact should not be fully delegated to the system. A human reviewer must remain in the loop and the affected person should have a way to challenge the decision. So for example, ginamit nyo nga sa pag-shortlist or sa pag-hire yung AI, dapat hindi siya solely sa AI lang responsibility. Lagi dapat may human in the loop o kung tawagin natin yung human in the loop or a human reviewer must remain in the loop. Shadow AI is on the MPC's radar. So employees pasting employee or candidate data in consumer grade AI tools. Consumer grade meaning yung mga free na AI tools online, available online, na walang organizational approval is a recognized compliance risk. HR should help define what tools are sanctioned. So shadow AI means yung mga AI na ginagamit ng patago. Kasi hindi alam ng mga empleyado kung ano yung pwede, ano yung bawal, or wala naman kayong sinanction ng mga tool organization-wide. So, di nila alam kung pwedeng gamitin yon or pwede bang mag-AI. So, shadow AI ang tawag. So, vendor due diligence also matters. Before adapting any AI tool for HR work, check nyo muna. Does it train prompt? Does it retain prompt? Does it train on user input? Where are the servers? Is there a data processing agreement? Actually important yung DPA when choosing an enterprise-grade tool. So, public or consumer AI tools kagaya ng free ChatGPT, Gemini Consumer, and then Cloud AI generally fail the standard for handling SPI or larger volumes of PI. Lagi tayong mag-default to enterprise-grade equivalents ng mga AI tools na to with enterprise data protection. So, dapat laging may DPA. Iba-iba yung DPA per tool and per account type na kukunin ninyo. So, yan. So, here are, for us to avoid penalties, avoid data breach risk, here are the safe use, HR safe use checklist. So, first, always anonymize. Sanitize your data before you prompt. So, strip nyo ng names, IDs, address, dates, identifying context before pasting anything into an AI. Strip identifiers or remove them. Have I removed details that could indirectly identify a person? Halimbawa, magpo-prompt kayo, magfi-feed kayo sa AI. Tinanggal nyo nga yung pangalan tsaka yung address, pero nilagay nyo doon, 34 years old Indian male handling the project for this client in HR department. Di ba parang, tas tatlo lang sila sa HR department, isa lang yung Indian. Diba? So, tanggalin natin lahat ng mga identifiers like team size, dates, project names, department specific. And then, prefer nyo lagi enterprise grade. Use ChatGPT Enterprise, Cloud for Work, or Microsoft Copilot with enterprise data protection. Yung mga tools na to materially change the compliance calculus because your inputs are not used to train the model. Retention is bounded, usually 30 days lang, and then deleted. A signed data processing agreement makes the vendor contractually bound processor, not just a third party. So, hindi na siya third party ngayon. Contractually bound na yung vendor ng AI na to if you have a signed data processing agreement. And then yung cross-border transfer is governed by the DPA, not the consumer terms of service. And then fourth, avoid the SPIs, avoid the sensitive personal information in public AI tools entirely. So wag na wag tayo maglalabas ng SPI sa public tools. Gaya ng health, religion, legal proceedings, government IDs. It does not belong in a public chatbot, even anonymized. So yan. And then lastly, disclose. If this AI output will form a decision about a person, halimbawa sa hiring, promotion, or discipline, always inform the data subject that AI was used. Prior to data collection, you may opt to request for candidate consent to process their data in a third-party AI tool for info organization purposes as a safeguard. Dapat sa disclosure nyo, madi-disclose nyo bakit gagamit kayo ng AI, para saan, and then ipaalam nyo rin na laging may human in the loop, hindi
Alam
si
nyo rin
AI
na
ang
laging may
magde-decide.
human in the loop.
Sorry. Hindi si AI ang magde-decide. There will still be a professional that will validate the output or the decision. And then, how will we keep the data safe? Okay, so the NPC continues to issue AI-specific guidance. Treat this checklist as a durable principle, but have your DPO or data privacy officer verify against the latest NPC advisory before finalizing any organization-wide policy on AI use. Yan. So here is a sample consent statement. So pwede nyo siyang screenshot, pwede nyo siyang gawing reference kung gagawa kayo ng sarili nyong consent statement. This is the shortened version para sa online application nito ng if magpo-post kayong job posting and you are going to use AI in the process of hiring, ito yung pwedeng consent statement. But always, always put a link or refer back to the full consent statement or privacy notice. Later, I think the AI team will also send you a sample consent statement, yung full consent statement. Then always have this reviewed by your DPO or legal before going live. Then keep the full statement easily accessible. Kagaya ng link or downloadable siya. So a candidate who wants the full text can read it. Then ito naman ang sample ng anonymized data. So for example, ito galing sa resume. And then gusto mo siya i-feed sa AI, paano mo siya i-anonymize? Notice three things in comparison. The candidate's value is fully preserved. So yung mga information na kailangan mo para sa hiring, kagaya ng skills, accomplishments, career trajectory, certification, ay intact pa rin. And then we have three categories that we removed. Direct identifiers, kagaya ng pangalan at contact numbers. Indirect identifiers lang, employer name, school, specific date and sensitive personal information kagaya ng civil status, religion, and government ID. Yung mga personal details sections, it disappears entirely. Yung civil status, religion, SPI, they have no business in a hiring evaluation, AI assisted or not. If a resume includes them, scrub nyo yun, alisin natin. So that's the sample anonymized data. Let's practice. Yan, practice tayo. I'll give you maybe let's do one or two examples. Quick scenarios, I'll give you quick scenarios. For each one, I'll give you the situation and three options. Type nyo lang sa chat A, B, or C. Open pa lang yung chat ko para makita ko yung answers natin. First one, the resume. So a new candidate's resume just landed in your inbox with name, address, school, full work history. Your hiring manager wants it reformatted into a one-pager today. You open ChatGPT, what do you do? A, B, or C? Type it in the chat. A, paste it into your company license ChatGPT Enterprise. Your DPA covers it. B, the school and work history are already on LinkedIn anyway, so just remove the name and address, then paste. And then replace the name with candidate, remove address, identifiers, structure only. Okay, letter C. Yes, C is the right move. Both A and B sound reasonable, but here's the trap. Ito kasi yung trap. Mukha siya lang reasonable. The A is wrong because data processing agreement does not override data minimization. Even with enterprise grade, you should still only feed the AI what's necessary for the task. So the DPA is not licensed to skip the hygiene. And B is wrong because it's already on LinkedIn. Hindi yun, lagi, mali yun is a rationalization, not a defense. Under RA 10173, what matters is whether the candidate consented to your organization disclosing it to a third-party AI tool. The original source being public is irrelevant. Okay, ito na lang, the feedback. So a manager sends you a draft of performance feedback for one of their team members. They want help softening the tone before they deliver it. The draft mentions the employee's name 3 times. What do you do? A, B, or C? Replace mo yung name to employee, tapos paste mo sa ChatGPT, then tone polish. Strip the name and the specific date, team size, then prompt for the tone polish. Coach the manager on tone in your usual one-on-one. Don't bring AI into something personal. Okay, B. So B, this one is a common HR mistake. A is wrong because stripping only the name is the trap most people fall into. In a small organization, the employee who led the Q3 onboarding project on the five-person product team is just as identifying as the name. So dapat identifiable pa rin siya. So C is wrong because it sets a higher bar than the policy actually requires. It loses the genuine value that AI brings. So B is the correct. Yan. Hey, I saw all your answers naman in the chat. Thank you so much for participating. So now that we know how to sanitize our data and use AI tools safely, let's break the stigma. Of course, ito yung isa sa mga mahihirap na roles ng HR. To break the stigma with AI use. So now that we know the basics of how to protect our data and how to use it ethically, let's shed a light on how to break the stigma about using AI in the workplace. Before we talk about which tools to use, let's deal with what your colleagues are saying about AI in your office. Some of these will sound familiar. So I have here three questions. These questions don't go away by ignoring them. They only get answered for us by whoever in the office speaks first. So for this topic, we're going to put each of those questions on the table and rebuild the picture of what HR looks like in the next 2 years. Not as a profession that's threatened by AI, but as one that gets to lead the conversation about it. So I have here three narratives. Simulan natin sa narrative one. So AI will replace HR. I'm sure you've heard this. May mga, hindi lang HR, yung other roles, yun yung takot ng mga tao, di ba? But the actual pattern is AI replaces tasks, not roles. So AI is a powerful tool, but it's still a tool. It replaces repetitive and templated tasks, making our work more efficient. For example, you can focus on your deliverables dahil you need to read hundreds of emails or declutter your file folders. AI can do this for you so you have time to actually do your job. But for every prompt AI generates, we would still need to approach it with human judgment, which makes our insights more valuable. So since it's a tool, we still need a skilled user to maximize its capabilities and be held accountable for outputs and decisions made. AI will never replace HR because it needs our expertise and our accountability. So narrative two, AI is unreliable. It just makes things up. So what's the truth? The actual pattern is that AI can hallucinate and it can hallucinate confidently. So always verify before publishing. So it can hallucinate, especially on facts and specific claims, but it's reliable in recognizing patterns. Gamitin lang natin siya for draft, structure, brainstorming, or automation. Always verify and validate before publishing. The same way you would not publish a junior associate's first draft without reading it, you don't publish AI's first draft either. And narrative three, using AI at work is cheating. The actual pattern is that productive tools in history felt like cheating until it became table stakes. Kagaya ng calculators. 'Di ba? Dati abacus lang. Na-imagine ko yung mga lumang tao, pinaglalaban nila, abacus pa rin. Hindi ako magka-calculator. 'Di ba? Pero ngayon, lagi na natin ginagamit calculator. Search engines, spell check, mail merge. Dati may mga pushback din yan. Using AI to draft the JD faster is not cheating. So not disclosing that AI was used in the decisions affecting people, that's where the line moves. So yun yung mas concern natin dapat, yung disclosure. I'll give you an example. So, napanood niyo na ba tong raise of hand lang or kahit thumbs up? Napanood niyo ba yung Cadbury advertisement recently? Yan, may commercial sila recently about AI, yung 5-star na chocolate bar. So yan, dito, kwento ko na lang, di ko napapanood para sa time, due to interest, time constraints. Yan. So they asked the question, is AI really helping us work faster or is it making us work more? And now we don't have time to slow down and live life outside of work. Yung scene kasi dito, yung boss niya, dinedemand siya na ibigay yung output na usually 2 days niyang ginagawa, ipasa niya daw in 10 minutes. Sabi ng boss niya, gumamit ka na lang ng AI para mabilis. So, and then yung story, dumaretso na gumagamit sila ng AI, mas mabilis. And then dahil mabilis na natatapos, dumadagdag yung trabaho. So, dumadami. Instead na nafi-free yung time nila. This scenario looks exaggerated, but unfortunately, it's true in some organizations. Hindi na siya bago. Even every major productivity tool has followed the same path. So, kagaya ng Slack or Teams, they promised us faster collaboration. Pero ang nangyari, it delivered always on expectation. AI is the next chapter of the same story unless us HR people intervene. So as HR professionals, we have the responsibility in regulating the use of AI in the workplace. We have to create policies that puts people first in promoting efficiency while maintaining work-life balance. The good news is that we're not alone in trying to figure this out. So like the Philippine NPC, governments, regulators, and major companies around the world have already started writing the guardrails. And we can learn from what they've put in. So ito yung mga ilang examples that we can translate into something that we can adapt in our own organization's policy. So the EU AI Act is the world's first comprehensive policy that clarifies AI by risk. So ginagawa nila, kinaklasify nila yung mga AI tools, yung nature ng AI based on four risks. So merong minimal risk, ibig sabihin walang obligation, pwedeng gamitin. May limited risk, kagaya ng chatbots, fake. Kailangan may transparency kapag ginagamit. Then high risk AI, kuwari ginagamit nyo sa employment, hiring, performance evaluation, merong strict obligations dapat na nag-a-apply. And then merong unacceptable risk na banned talaga outright, kagaya lang social scoring, manipulative AI. Yun yung overview ng EU AI Act. And then sa China naman, they made it illegal for companies to terminate employees solely to replace them with artificial intelligence or to cut costs. So, alam naman natin China is one of the leading countries that develops AI, no? These measures demonstrate a clear policy boundary. Companies cannot pass the burden of automation-driven efficiency gains entirely to their human workforce. So what we can learn from these global leaders is that HR can lead the organization in creating guardrails of using AI tools and one that puts people first. Here are some of the 5 best practices for breaking the AI stigma and driving safe, responsible use of AI. So ito yung dito tayo pwede magsimula. So number 1 is sanction the right tools. Provide enterprise-grade AI access before you write the policy. If your people don't have a safe sanctioned option, they will quietly use the unsafe one on their personal devices, kagaya ng shadow AI nga, inabanggit natin. And then you'll lose visibility into where your company data is going. The first move that builds trust is removing the reason to break the rules. Number 2 is to publish a short, plain English AI use policy. Hindi natin kailangan ng 30-page legal document. A 3-page playbook everyone in HR, legal, and business can actually read. It should answer 6 questions in plain language. What tools are approved? What's never allowed? What data hygiene applies? Who do I ask if I'm unsure of using AI? How do we disclose the AI use? And how does this policy keep people first, not just productivity? So always have your data protection officer co-own it, refresh it every 6 months because the space moves fast. AI is always evolving. And then third is run AI literacy training in tiers, not as a one-off. Hindi sapat yung single town hall para i-announce na gagamit na tayo ng AI. Diba? Hindi siya nakakabago ng behavior. What works is a 60-minute foundational session for everyone, kagaya nito. Then plus a deeper 2-hour workshop for HR, legal, tech leaders who handle sensitive data. Include kayo ng hands-on practice with approved tools and real workplace use cases. Repeat it at least annually because both tools and the regulations evolve. And then build an AI champions network across functions. So isali nyo sila, sali natin yung mga employees. Designate 1 or 2 AI curious people in each major function, kagaya ng recruitment, HRBP, L&D, as go-to champions. Their job is to surface useful prompts and use cases, answer questions, model good hygiene, and feed real-world like friction back into the policy team. Sigma breaks faster when a respective peer or colleague says, I use AI for this every week, blah, 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 rather than a leader who just mandates adaptation. Rather na sabihin lang natin, gagamitin na natin to, no questions. So we need champions. And then lastly, disclose AI use transparently, internally and with candidates. Build the habit early when AI is used in a decision affecting a person, hiring, performance, promotion. We have to say so. A simple line in a hiring email, a short note in performance documentation, a disclosure paragraph on the career page. Trust is the most expensive asset HR built and the cheapest one to lose. Secret AI use doesn't just risk AI compliance events, it risks the things that makes HR work in the first place. So transparency does two things. It satisfies emerging NPC expectations and it normalizes AI as a legitimate tool rather than a secret shortcut. Nothing breaks stigma faster than leadership saying out loud, yes, we use this, here's how we use it, and here's how we keep it. Always remember, enable before you regulate, train before you measure, champion before you mandate, and disclose before you defend. So those are the best practices. Yan. Okay, so in the wake of AI use in every organization, may mga no competency requirements for HR professionals na nag emerge, which will enable us to ensure best practices are implemented. So here are the 5 emerging competencies in the age of generative AI. These 5 themes recur across credible reports, research bodies, and HR thought leadership between 2023 and 2025. Ito yung research references nitong 5 emerging competencies for HR professional. Let's start with number 1, the very basic AI literacy. The working understanding of what Gen AI is, how it differs from traditional AI, and where it fits or where it doesn't fit in HR workflows. Being able to explain AI and AI tools in layman's terms. So without literacy, HR becomes either the function that blocks AI out of fear or the one that rolls it out without judgment. Literacy is what allows HR to lead the AI conversion in the organization rather than react to it. So kailangan tayong mga HR professional are able to answer ano ba yung Gen AI, where is it good at, and what it shouldn't do, and what data hygiene needs to apply first without sounding alarmist or dismissive. Second competency is prompt fluency, the ability to construct structured prompts that consistently produce useful, reliable outputs from AI tools. So later on, I'll teach you the basic prompt engineering. So it matters because the gap between AI helped a little and AI saved me hours is almost entirely about how you ask the AI to do your job. So prompt fluency is the most leveraged skill, not just in HR or any other, but in any other role. It is also relevant. So you can develop prompt fluency. Dapat makakonstruct tayo ng mga prompts using the RTFC pattern, which gets a usable first draft on the first try. Third competency is the data hygiene and privacy stewardship. Very important. It's one of, if not the most important, the discipline of recognizing and removing identifying information before any AI use paired with a working understanding of data protection law and MPC direction. So ito yung competency na nagpa-protect of everything else. A single careless paste can trigger a compliance event, damage candidate trust, and create personal and organizational liability. It's the one competency where the cost of a gap is asymmetric. A small slip carries a large downslide. HR professionals should always be able to sanitize data before feeding it to AI. Fourth is ethical reasoning. Yeah, ethical reasoning and AI judgment. It's the capacity to decide when AI use is appropriate. So when human judgment must lead and when AI involvement must be disclosed to the people affected. HR has always been the function that owns these judgment calls when they involve people. So that responsibility now extends to every people decision AI touches. So HR should know up to what extent AI is allowed to be used. For example, in scoring candidates against a structured competency rubrics, you use AI only to surface the evidence and draft justification. Pero you still do the final shortlisting and then decision making and disclose to candidates that AI assisted in the review. So si AI, collaborator lang siya, not the final decision maker. And then lastly, one of the hardest but most valuable competency. Hindi na siya bago. Change facilitation or change management, hindi na bago. Pero AI advocacy specifically. Change facilitation and AI advocacy. One of the hardest but most valuable competency to develop. The ability to help colleagues, leaders, and frontline team adopt AI thoughtfully. So hindi mo ibinablock out of fear, nor approving it out of pressure. AI adaptation is not a tech rollout. So wag natin ipasa sa IT lang, di ba? Hindi lang dapat si IT yung nagro-roll out ng AI adaptation. Hindi siya tech rollout eh. It's a culture shift. So culture shifts are HR's home turf, di ba? Tayo yan. If HR doesn't facilitate the AI shift in the organization, someone else will. Usually poorly and usually without the people lens that HR brings. For example, when a team lead pushes back on AI use, kuwari, sinasabi nila, hindi yan safe, huwag natin gamitin. Yung HRBP, dapat di natin dinidismiss yung concerns or forward or just forward a policy. O basahin mo yung policy. Hindi ganon. They run a 30-minute working session, surface the team's specific fears, name 2 or 3 concrete approved use cases that fit the team's work, walk through the safe use checklist, and agree on one low risk experiment to try in the next sprint. So now let's run a poll. So yan na po yung 5 emerging HR competence. Let's do a poll. Quick poll lang sa Zoom. Out of the 5 discussed, which competency do you most want to build? So alin yung gusto mong i-focusan na competency dito sa mga bagong emerging competencies for HR? Let's see. Okay, I'm seeing responses. Okay, can we share the results? I think some are still voting. I think some are still voting. Nangunguna ang prompt fluency. That's good. So prompt fluency, then AI literacy. Yes, we start with that. Yan. Can everybody see the result? Can we show the result? I think for prompt fluency. Yan. So prompt fluency, you want to focus on that. Now that's good. We're gonna touch on that quickly here in this session. And then AI literacy, ethical reasoning, then data hygiene and change facilitation. Yan. Okay. Let's move on. So papasadahan lang natin in the interest of time. Times of generative AI tools. So now that we know the competencies we need to develop in order to evolve with AI, dive naman tayo sa types ng Gen AI tools na pwede nating magamit for our actual HR work. So, introduce ko lang sa inyo yung different types ng generative AI. We have the large language models or text or LLMs. Ito yung ating ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. So, LLM, isipin nyo parang yung kaibigan yung mahilig magbasa ng libro, ng research, ng mga manuals, websites. And then, hindi nila yun memorize, pero na-gets na nila yung pattern kung what makes a good job description, kakabasa nila ng mga JD, ng mga libro. And then they know how a job description usually sounds. So they know how a policy memo usually flows. They know how an employee announcement is typically worded. So now if you ask that person, write me a job description for a recruiter, hindi sila kumukuha lang ng template from a drawer. They start writing. And at each word, they ask themselves, given everything I've read, what's the most likely next word here? And then the next, and then the next, until a full coherent job description appears. That's exactly what an LLM does. It's autocomplete at a massive useful. Para lang siyang autocomplete na mas maraming, massive ang dataset niya na. Ang machine learning niya before is from a massive dataset. So yun ang LLM. It generates text. Best used for job descriptions, policy drafts. For sure, ito na yung pinagagamitan natin now. Dito natin ginagamit yung Gen AI now. To writing. Hindi siya fit for specific factual claims, recent events, numerical precision, anything requiring judgment about a specific person. If you want research or benchmarking, best tool to use would be Perplexity. For research. For research Perplexity. Yun yung type niya. And then we have image generation. So again, si Midjourney, si Gemini, si ChatGPT or DALL-E, it generates images. So best for internal campaign with visuals, training infographics, event posters, slides, imagery, and then sa modules. Pero bawal siya sa promotional. Kuwari, po-promote nyo yung company nyo using AI-generated images sa mga tao na nagpapanggap na employee ng company nyo. Bawal siya. Kasi ang HR has to represent the company. Malay nyo may mag-apply. Para siyang false advertisement. Kung may nag-apply na candidate, nag-apply ho ako kasi nakita ko masaya yung mga employee sa advertisement. Eh, hindi nyo employee yun, AI yun. So, parang gano'n siya. Hindi siya pwedeng gamitin. May ethical grounds din siya. And then, ayan. We have audio or speech. Kagaya ng 11 Labs or Whisper. Ito yung mga speech to text or text to speech. Best for meeting transcription, kagaya dito sa Zoom, may transcript si Copilot si Gemini meron din. Training voiceovers, podcast styles, L&D modules. So, not fit for meeting transcript na walang consent. Kailangan lagi may consent. And then, cloning a real person's voice, bawal. Recording or processing sensitive HR conversations, high-stake communications, anything used as a legal evidence, bawal siyang gamitin. Yeah. And then, multimodal. Ito yung very useful ngayon, si multimodal. Yung modal is just a type of input. Text is a one mode, an image is another, audio is another mode, PDF is another. So, yan. A multimodal AI can handle several types of input in the same conversation. Pwede ka mag-upload, pwede ka mag-paste ng text, mag-upload ka ng PDF, attach an image. Yan na yung mga bagong ChatGPT ngayon, si Claude, si Gemini, and then si Copilot. Yan. My personal go-to for multimodal AI is Claude Cowork. So, ito yung ginagamit namin sa organization namin ngayon. My data is stored locally in my desktop. Kaya si Claude ang gusto ko kasi yung data ko, nasa desktop ko lang. Hindi siya na-upload sa ibang servers. And they have a DPA, lalo na kapag naka-enterprise grade kayo na account. Meron siyang data privacy agreement that gives you the option to turn off the training mode. So yung mga data ng organization nyo, hindi niya iti-train yung ibang models ni Claude. Then yung devs nila ng Claude, filters yung data learning in hopes for a more accurate output. So, meron kasi yung kuwari mag-feed ka sa AI ng mga trash information, tapos papahallucinate niya yung AI dahil sa sobrang dami ng trash information na nilagay niya. Developers ng Claude, finifilter nila yung learning nitong Claude in the hopes of a more accurate output. So it's not fit for high-stake documents where a single misread changes outcomes. Any task where AI confident sounding answer might mask an actual wrong reading of the document. Yan. Then multimodal build, yung build mode naman. May multimodal tayo na build mode. Most of these are prototypes. Pang demo lang siya and experiments, not for production infrastructure. Meron tayong build with AI Studio to prove the idea. So dito ginagamit natin siya to prove an idea, a concept, and then rebuild in a proper environment to deploy it. So later I'll show you. We'll touch on vibe coding very quickly. Sorry, mga examples pala niya. So ang samples niya si Google AI Studio, si Claude, may Claude Code na rin, and then si Codebox, and then si Canva. Ito yung use case map, pwede nyo yung screenshot. Ito yung summary lang ng mga binanggit ko kanina. Tool examples, anong type ng Gen AI, and para saan siya best suited na task. So, yan siya. Okay, let's head on to Prompt Engineering 101. Ito, basics to ng prompt engineering. I hope you're still with me. So, I know medyo baka info overload, ano? Let's take a minute to stretch your arm, legs, so drink water because this next topic will be very hands-on. So I'm going to show you the basics of prompt engineering. So can you show a raise of hands for those of you who have heard of this term before? Heart react lang. If a like sign kapag ka narinig mo na tong prompt engineering and then heart react kapag na-train ka na dito before. Kapag naka-attend ka na ng prompt engineering. Ito lang siya nakikita, pero naniniwala ako sa inyo. Prompt engineering is the process of designing and refining the instructions you give to an AI system, kagaya ng ChatGPT or Gemini, to ensure that you get the most accurate, useful, and relevant response. So, nagsisimula siya sa RTFC framework. You give the AI a role, task, format, and context. So, let's break it down. So, role is giving the AI a focus. So, without a role, AI gives generic answers. With a role, it gives answers anchored in a perspective, like asking a specific kind of professional. So the more specific the role, the more useful the output. So ang example niyan is, instead of sabihin mo na write me a job description, bibigyan mo muna siyang role. Sabi mo, you are an experienced HR recruiter at a Philippine fintech company. So mayroon siyang title, may role siya. And then task is what you want the AI to do. So vague tasks produces vague output. Specific task produces usable output. If you can't say it specifically, the AI can't deliver it specifically. For example, write a job description for a senior talent acquisition specialist based in the Philippines, reporting to the head of talent management. So yun, specific yun, di ba? Specific task. The more specific you get, the better quality your results will be. Ayan. And then format. Format is asking AI how the output should be structured, how it should be organized. So, kagaya ng mga sections, bullets, gaano kahaba, specific header, data cuts. Ask AI to generate the output into PDF, Word document, or Excel file. Yun yung format. So, halimbawa, specificity multiply usefulness. So, kung sinabi mo, use bullets, okay lang yun. Use bullets to do this. Pero ang better is um, use 5 to 7 bullets, each starting with an action verb no longer than one line. It's dramatically better. The more precisely you describe the shape, the less editing you do afterward. So format is where most of your time saving lives. So ito yung nakakabawas ng time sa pag-edit, yung format. Test your prompt by checking if you can copy paste your output into the final document with minimal editing. That's format. And then the most important one is context. So ito yung what does AI need to know about my situation? Sino ba yung audience ng output na to? What's the tone? The things to include, things to avoid. Examples of what good looks like in our world. So most weak prompts are weak here, not in role or task. Kasi yung role, task, tsaka format, usually clear na yan in our minds kung anong itsura. They're the easy parts, but context is what most people skip, and it's why the output ends up almost right but not quite ours. Parang hindi ganon yung hinahanap natin. Malapit pero malayo, alam mo yun. So audience is the single most powerful context input. So, halimbawa sabihin mo, write a JD, generic yung output na ibibigay niya. Pag sinabi mong write a JD for Filipino mid-career professionals in fintech hybrid setup, it gives you a draft that already sounds like your industry. The more you say about who will read it, the better the AI tailors what it writes. One example is worth 100 instructions. Kaya, pwede ka maglagay ng example ng gusto mong tunog. Kuwari, match the tone of this paragraph, tapos i-paste mo doon. Give AI a calibration point that often outperforms a long list of adjectives. If you have a model output na gusto mo na, parang ito na yung parang gusto ko ganito yung mangyari. Gamitin mo yon, gawin mong sample para sa AI. Context is what makes AI sounds like you. So here's a sample RTFC prompt for creating competency rubrics for an HR manager role at fintech company. I'm sure madalas yun na nagagamit yung ChatGPT for or yung mga AI tools for job descriptions or yung mga letters, emails. Medyo i-level up natin yung product niya. Gawa tayo ng prompt for a competency rubric para sa HR manager role at a fintech company. Good prompts are often lengthy to ensure that we're being as specific as possible. So ito may role siya, may task, format, and context. Medyo mahaba nga siya. It's very specific. So it does not have to be in the order of RTFC. Hindi mo kailangan sunod-sunod na ganyang order. Pwede siyang hiwa-hiwalay or iba-iba as long as you incorporate everything consistently. You can improve further by giving examples to AI on how you want the output to look like. Build a prompt library of your strong reusable prompts which you can refer to. Kung may prompt ka na, ay gumana, ang ganda ng nilabas ng output. Itabi mo yon. Tapos gumawa ka ng library ng mga prompts mo na gusto mo yung naging output. Pwede mong i-reuse yon next time. For a comprehensive task, ask AI to be your collaborator. Tell it to ask you clarifying questions as you build. So, pwede mo siyang tanungin. Kasi collaborator si AI, di ba? So do not put information, again, do not put infos in your prompts you wouldn't normally email to a person outside your organization. So sanitize again your data, your prompts. With this example, itong example na to na nasa screen on how to build a competency rubric, diba? How can we still say that AI will replace HR? To come up with a good output, you have to first know the basic steps of how to build a competency rubric and what a good rubrics look like. So, tayo pa rin mag-feed sa AI kung ano yung gusto nating output. Then, you will have to always validate AI's draft before using. Validation is very important. So, ito, quickly share ko lang yung kabila kong screen to show you. Kasi finid ko to sa ChatGPT. Itong prompt na to, I fed it to ChatGPT. I'll show you what it made. Or can I send it ba sa chat? Yung ano na lang. I'll send the file na lang sa chat. Is that okay, Ray?
Yes, Miss Sha.
Sige, here. I'll send it sa chat. Ito yung ginawa ni ChatGPT. Hindi pa to validated, just to show you kung ano yung raw niya na output. Yan. Mamaya gagamitin natin yan. Sorry, medyo nag-fast forward ako kasi we have limited time. So ito naman na yung ating final activity is the vibe coding. So now we know nga, yan, yung prompt engineering. Ganun lang siya. Follow nyo lang yung RTFC format and then you'll get a good output every time. I-collaborate nyo lang. Sabihin nyo lang kay AI. Tanungin mo ako kung ano pa yung kailangan mo sa akin para ma-reach natin yung goal nitong desired output. And then kapag may mga prompt kayo na paulit-ulit mo nang ginagamit, it's no longer a prompt, it's a workflow. So there's a way to make it more efficient and share your workflow within your organization by creating a dedicated app. So dati only software developers can create apps. Now anyone can code. All you need is good prompt engineering skills. It's called vibe coding. So yan. A more formal name is prompt to prototype or natural language software development. But the phrase vibe coding was popularized by Andre Karpathy, former director of AI at Tesla and one of OpenAI's founding team in early 2025. So yung term na yun stuck because it captures the spirit. You describe the vibe of what you want and then the AI creates. The rule is as long as you can describe it, you can create it. If you can describe an HR tool to a colleague over coffee, you can vibe code that tool by lunch. So that's vibe coding. Here are vibe coding tools that we can try. We have the Google AI Studio. Ito yung itatry natin ngayon. Maganda siya for first-time vibe coders. It's powered by Gemini, cleanest UI or user interface for beginners. Then we have Lovable. It's building polished web app you can deploy and share with your team. Claude Artifacts, quick siya, interactive prototypes inside a chat. So it's best for prototyping. Then si Codebox has comprehensive learning aspects. So ito naman si Codebox. It teaches you vibe coding as you go. User-friendly vibe coding tool that lets you customize the look and feel using your own assets or branding. Good for startups and small businesses. Ayan. And then meron itong mga free accounts, pero itong mga free accounts wala silang database. So hindi masasave yung mga dati mong ginawa. So wala siyang memory. Um, si Claude naman is the best tool that you can try because it has special features for work, specific for work. So yan. So a good way to start vibe coding is with a good prompt. So describe what you want to do in 3 or more sentences. So the same RTFC pattern applies to building the app you want, but here's a good guide. Hindi mo na kailangang ibigyan ng role si vibe coding tool kasi may role na siya. Siya na yung app builder. Builder siya. That's the role. So instead, you give it a purpose. So what's the purpose of the tool that you want to create in one sentence? And then inputs. What fields the user fills in? Behaviors or process. What happens when they click the button? Ganyan. Imagine kayo ng app na gusto nyo gawin. And then, anong output yung lalabas dun sa app na yon? And then, safety, any warnings or guardrails? Ano ba? Anonymize muna? No SPIs? And then, kung anong style? Professional, minimal, accessible, education, kid-friendly. It's like talking to a developer about an app you want to create. Describe all the features you want to incorporate. A not so secret technique is using LLMs to create the prompts for you. So, pwede ikaw yung magsulat ng prompt kung gusto mo. And then, the AI tool naman will collaborate with you. But a technique is you ask, halimbawa, ChatGPT to create the prompt for you. Sabihin mo lang kung ano yung gusto mo. So, yan. So, in the interest of time, I've created a prompt which we will feed to Google AI Studio. So, let me just reshare my screen. Teka, nakita ko sa inyo. Stop share ko lang. I'm sorry for going overtime, guys. Pero, ito na. Nasa exciting part na tayo. Ayan. So, meron akong sinulat na prompt. Let me just copy paste it here. It's a handmade prompt to create a competency evidence mapper. So, ang gagawin niya, mamap niya yung mag-upload ka ng interview transcript na anonymized, of course. Wala yung mga SPI and PIs dun sa transcript na yon. Anonymized transcript. Upload niya and then mag-upload ka ng competency framework. Yung competency framework na ginawa natin kanina sa prompt engineering, upload natin doon. And then, i-analyze niya, i-score niya based sa rubrics. I-score niya based sa rubrics yung transcript. So yan, ito yon. Ito yung akin, yung ginawa ko. But again, I told you the trick is to also ask AI to help you create the prompt. Yan, kasi yan, medyo matagal din si Google AI Studio tong gamit natin. I have an enterprise account for this one, but a public one is available. Just make sure to anonymize and do not upload any sensitive information. Pero dahil nagmamadali tayo in the interest of time, ginamit ko yung enhanced prompt na pina-enhance ko kay Claude. Ayan, yung prompt niya. Pinaste ko rin yon yung ginawa kong prompt and then pina-enhance ko kay Claude. Dito siya lalabas. Wait, gusto ko rin kasi ituro sa inyo kung paano siya gagamitin. Mabagal lang siya. But when na-upload nyo yan, may lalabas dito sa gilid. Ito yun. And then makikita nyo yung codes. For developers, pwede nilang tignan yung code ng app. Pero lalabas dito yung preview. Tapos papipiliin ka niya ng itsura kung anong style. Click mo lang yun. Tapos lalabas na. Ito yung pinili ko kasing style. Then sinabi ko rin kasi lagyan ng data privacy warning. Paalala na huwag maglagay ng personal information. Pwede kayo ditong, habang nagde-develop siya, pwede kayong mag-chat, mag-type sa kanya kung anong gusto niyo ipabago, ipadagdag. And then pag may bug, pwede mo ring i-fix or i-submit yung bugs. And then i-fix niya yung code for you. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-code. So hindi kailangan marunong ka mag-code. Makakagawa ka na ng app through vibe coding. So ito yon. Try natin. Upload ko yung ating anonymized transcript. And then upload ko rin yung kanina nating output sa prompt engineering. Yan. And then run performance, generating compliance. Oops, analysis failed, unexpected. Okay, wala na akong token kasi kanina ko pa siya tinatry. So, for bugs, pwede niyong solusyonan yung bug. Pero for tokens, mahirap yan kasi hahantayin yung mag-reset yung token. Sayang, kanina nandyan yan. Meron akong scored version na run itong performance ng app na ginawa ko. And then tong app na to, shareable, pwede nyo siya i-share within your organization. Hindi nila makukuha yung mga in-upload nyo. Makukuha lang nila yung app na pwede nilang i-try on their own. Pwede ko din naman to i-share. I'll share it in the chat box. Tapos i-share na lang natin. Anyone with the link. Yung mga in-upload ko, hindi nyo siya makita. Makukuha nyo lang yung app. Okay. So, medyo matagal siya. But, I'll make sure that the AI team will send you the link to the app so you can try it and you can try to vibe code. I think that's it for me. May key takeaways lang, mga paalala ko lang sa inyo bago tayo mag-end. Always sanitize your data. AI is just a tool, no matter how powerful it is. Always keep humans in the loop. And then HR is the heart responsible in advocating for using AI while putting people first. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, AI, for having me this afternoon.
All right. Thank you so much, Sha. Yeah, with the continuous growth of AI in the organizations, the insights you shared couldn't come at a better time. It's very, very helpful to, well, us in the HR profession as well as everybody else in the organization. I know it's already a little bit over time, but we received some questions as you were doing your presentation. And the first one you actually already answered, which is earlier on what tools you currently use, which is the Claude. No? But on the other ones na lang. Let me start off with the first question. For smaller HR teams without enterprise tools, AI tools, what would be your recommended starting point? Especially if you want to stay compliant with data privacy requirements.
You can still use public AI tools, yung mga free, especially if kuwari mag-isa ka lang or freelancer ka, VA ka. You can use it, but always, always sanitize your data. Yun yung key natin. Manually lang siya nagagawa. Hindi mo siya, kasi kuwari, sabihin mo, pa-help ka sa AI, sanitize mo yung data nito. Wala, Len, na-defeat mo yung purpose ng sanitation. So, ikaw talaga yung gagawa ng data sanitation. As long as you remove the PIs and SPIs, then you're good to upload it in a public domain. Yung enterprise yun eh. Kasi iba pa yung personal accounts mo. Yung premium accounts mo na solo, na hindi pang company. Meron din naman yung DPA. Mas secured lang yung enterprise, yung organization-wide. So, pwede mo pa rin gamitin. But the key is to always sanitize your data.
Sanitizing. I think that's a key takeaway. No, regardless of what you do in AI, always clean up the data.
Yes.
Okay. So of course, especially if we're going to be going into using AI tools for HR, what processes do you think are the safest ones to start with?
Um, I think with any process that you have naman, it's always good to start internally. No, wag muna nating idamay yung data ng mga at outside factors like mga candidates, ganyan, clients. Let's start with our team. Start small. I-test nyo muna. Test nyo i-run nyo kung paano nyo gagamitin yung data. Especially if you're customizing it for your own internal process. And then, avoid muna nga natin yung maglagay ng mga SPIs, mga personal informations, or mga legal documents into that
Hmm.
AI workflow. So, always start internally, start small, and then mag-use case kayo, gawa kayong use case. Best to start yung yung committee nyo or champions nyo from each department. And then, i-test run nyo, i-try nyo internally first.
Yes. All right. I have a few more here, but I want to get to this question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best course recommendation in learning AI for personal purposes, like for individual learning?
Best course recommendation. We start with ano talaga, AI literacy.
Okay.
There are boot camps, there are like certification programs, but for starting learners of generative AI, literacy or citizenship, AI citizenship talaga. We start with that and then dive deeper into prompt engineering kasi surface lang yung diniscuss natin kanina and vibe coding. Sunod-sunod naman yun once you find a certification program that you like. But AI literacy, we start with that first. Custom GPTs. Sorry, nababasa ko yung yung chat. So yan.
Sure.
How can we start with custom
Sorry.
GPT? Actually, it's a separate learning session altogether. Yan. Lalo na yung vibe coding din. It has to be a separate learning session. Custom GPTs, Cloud Cowork, Cloud Code, it's a separate learning session talaga. So, parang separate course siya. Do you recommend Cursive? Cursive, personally, I have not tried Cursive yet. Um, I have yet to look into Cursive. Sorry, binasa ko na. Oh, ayan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're way past the top of the hour. We still have a few more questions, and if you guys still have more questions that you'd like to ask Sha, please feel free to send it over. We'll send it to Sha, and then we'll send you guys the responses. No, thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned for our next webinar on sustainable succession, where we explore how excuse me, how to create long-term and future-ready leadership pipelines that grow with your organization. So join us on May 28th at 3 p.m. and we look forward to seeing you all there. So stay tuned for the sign up for that.
Thank you so
Thank
much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.